Yeah. Good afternoon to Ms. Thing.
Good afternoon.
And how are you today?
I am great.
You're great. Your last Monday.
Lord
Thank the Lord for that, ain't it? I know it goes both ways. Thank the Lord, your last day here for your early night. Thank God for the year. Not for the day, for the year.
No, I don't mind it, but it's just different, you know?
It's different, yeah.
Never country chickens before they hatch.
Exactly.
So we got to deal for another 60 plus minutes.
Listen, you're saying this is the last for the year. You never know when should be sitting back over there.
I'm talking about with Inside Sports.
You never know when should be sitting back over there.
We're trying to make it happen. That she don't sit back there. Kidding. All is well. So how was your weekend, though, overall, though?
It was good.
Yeah.
Steady. A lot of things going on. Obviously, overseas. With the cricket team, unfortunately, third match today, third loss.
Tough.
Yeah. You had Philadelphia winning the Beijing International Triathlon.
That's right.
Unfortunately, Krista Dyer and Kaylin Cox, they were in the World Wushu Championships. Unfortunately, both lost in the first round. We had a host of players playing league football over in the UK, over in the US. A bit of a good weekend for most of them. In the only local front, there were some surprises in local football.
Yeah. Can I just interject here quick?
Sure.
Big surprise. Rangers 3-0 over PAT.
Well, to be honest, I don't call any result right now in football locally a surprise. Because that's how the game is right now. On any given day, anybody could beat anyone.
There's no one dominant team, you're telling me.
Well, on paper, you would say, and because of the name, and I just draw a reference to the fact that on Saturday, North Village played Somerset up at Somerset.
Right.
And if I would have said to you, North Village were playing Somerset in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, you would have said standing room early.
Right.
But this particular game, there was plenty of standing room available.
Okay.
So when you start talking about that, and then obviously a Rangers PHC, that's a rivalry.
Sure.
So PHC's had the better of them over these last few years, and now Rangers got the better of them yesterday. So
yeah, 3 goals first 29 minutes.
Yeah, 3-0, real quick. They had another derby yesterday with Dandy Town and Devilish Cougars.
Yeah.
That one, seesaw battle. We finished 2-1 Dandy Town. A bit of a surprise down. A bit of a surprise down at Garrison, because usually when Robin Hood take a lead and a lead by 2 goals, they very rarely squander it.
Right.
And Crossroads were able to come back and draw 3-3. Somerset Eagles still going strong.
The White Hill Boys.
Yeah. Quietly, I know Roger's probably. Oh, shut up! They're flying under the radar.
Yeah, that's right. Roger Lee and
but hey, they're doing what they have to do in order to, remain in the league, and that's what they want to do. Remain in the Premier Division. I know. Go back to the Village Somerset match. Dennis has a tall order, but I was rather impressed with what I've seen now. Them having a few games under the belt. Somerset, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Such a young team mixed in with a bit of experience. I was really impressed at the discipline they showed when he wanted them to defend. Took North Village out of a rhythm by cutting off a lot of the lanes that they wouldn't play through.
Passing lanes.
And, it kind of frustrated Village at points. I wouldn't say it frustrated them all afternoon. I know Kenny was trying to tell them, be patient, it will come. And they got the chance and scored. They created a few chances, but, I was really impressed with the way Somerset played for the time I saw them play. So, Dennis is going to keep demanding more and more from these guys. And eventually, I'm not saying it will come this year or this season, but eventually they'll reap the benefits if they continue to listen. And the spectators have to be patient. Standing on the sideline, I hear, some people are very impatient when things are not working the way they want to all the time. And they have to realize that it is in the midst of a rebuild for a team like Somerset. and they have to be patient with these youngsters. So.
It's amazing. But like all our sports, or majority of our sports in Bermuda,
yeah,
we're spoiled. We used to win it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say used to win it. Used to having it my way because not saying that you know, even when teams are winning, they're arguing. It's because I can't have it my way. Then I want to make a lot of noise. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna have Troy Lewis join us in the studio today. And,
got a booster seat.
Pardon me?
Got a booster seat.
If you're joining us, he's got a camp that's be happening.
Not the right things.
This weekend, he's going to discuss his campaign. He's going to have some representatives from Waffle from the Premium Division join us here in studio and discuss what the camp is all about. In addition to that, Mr. Nathan Richardson, the president of the Bermuda Boxing Association, of course, the big night coming up on November 23rd, Boxing Night, be joining us and giving us a rundown of what's going to happen there as well.
Oh, I'm glad.
I just wanted to, on a separate note, Stealing Sports, though, congratulate the Man United fans for holding Liverpool to a 1-1 draw. And they did what they had to do by all means necessary. And credit to them. So, Liverpool is still on top. Man United still struggling.
Struggling. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's part of the game, and that's how it goes. You just have to play on.
Okay.
Play on. That's how it is. But back to you on the cricket team. What are our chances like? What are they looking like now?
Slim to none now.
Slim to none.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of work. It's tall order. I mean, we've come a long ways.
But believe it or not, it's only the start. They have plenty of cricket to play. There's a tournament, a 50-over tournament, believe it or not, next month over in Hong Kong. So when these guys get back, they will turn around and some will and some won't, with nucleus of new players in, will represent Bermuda again. Lessons learned in this tournament you take to your next one and you try to build on it. You know, and people need to encourage. I know on Saturday when I was out and about, I had quite a few people shout out, "What happened to your team?" So I said to them, "You mean our team?"
Right.
And they kept moving. See, when we win,
how's our team?
It's our team.
Our.
Yeah. When we lose, it's not, I don't want no parts of it. So not to worry.
Are you serious?
Of course, man. Of course. Nobody wants to be around, or people try to distance themselves when their team's not playing well. So they distance themselves away from it. And then they find all sorts of excuses. Oh, he coached this player shouldn't be in the team. Yeah. But when they're winning, everything's lovely.
But you know, Earl, Bermudians don't like to lose at anything.
Yeah.
You're right. You're correct.
Yeah.
But you also have to understand that there's a process, right? And there will be lost 3 games. You don't shout out to a sports journalist and say, "How's your team?" You're Bermudian. He's Bermudian. How is our team? I was just about to say that Earl, when Earl and I went in high school together, we used to say, "How is our national team in football, cricket, whatever the case may be?"
Yeah.
Now, 20, 30 years later, or 40 years later.
10 years later.
Okay, we'll say 10 years later, all right? They're saying, "How's your team?"
Yeah.
That's just unheard of.
Yeah. And I understand people don't like to lose, but find out what all the facts are. Don't just look at a result and say, "Oh, these guys are wasting our money and our time," and so forth. It's nothing like that. Everybody needs to be a little patient. Things will fall into place. We had an upside in cricket. Went to the World Cup. Both under 19s and the senior team have been to the World Cup in cricket. The football teams now are doing well. So, we got a cycle going. So let's just hope that at one point in time it can all come together and we can all progress together in various sports, not just one sport at a time. Yeah.
Well stated.
Cool.
Is that Sean Thompson there at the door?
Oh,
he was had a big smile on his face. You know why?
What is it?
He showed his pearly whites because of Man United.
Oh,
United,
okay.
They didn't lose.
Oh, okay.
Right. They didn't lose.
That was the goal for the weekend. Don't lose.
Don't lose at home to Liverpool. Right. So he got what he wanted.
Okay.
I didn't get what I want, but I got a point out of it.
Okay.
Right.
I'm just wondering if that many people were happy when Bermuda drew Guatemala.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And there was no comment, right? From correct?
No.
Right?
No.
No one called you out.
No. So, yeah.
It's strange, isn't it?
It is. It is. But, hey.
You're right.
Yeah.
So, let's take a first commercial break, and when we come back, hopefully our first guest will be in studio. We're just waiting for Mr. Troy Lewis to arrive. And he joins us in studio, or Mr. Nathan Richardson. We'll take a commercial break. We'll be back after this.
Now, back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Inside Sports Talk Radio on Power 95 FM with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Bayston.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio on this Monday afternoon. Joining us in the studio is Mr. Troy Lewis with some special guests from the Warfare Premier League of the EPL. Good afternoon to you, Troy.
Hi, yes, good afternoon.
How you doing?
Everyone? I'm good.
Good. Mr. Lewis, you got anything to say, Mr. Lewis? Because I know you said something earlier. Is anything you want
I tell him in the warfare, don't try to make the public realize they'll think I don't have nothing to say. I tell him, yeah, the booster C for him.
And I'm going to take that as bullying for somebody who's short. Somebody's trying to...
I'm short just like you.
Hey, welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. You got some special guests in the studio. You brought some gentlemen with you last year. Just bring us up to date because you got a camp that's going to be happening this week on the island.
Yeah, so this will be the third time Iconics has been here. And that's head by Laurie Dudfield, as well as Mike Edwards. And for us, that's our links to creating more links and more pathways for our Bermudians that are interested in football, and as well as education. So education and football education. And so with those links, it's allowed us to have people like Richard Thomas from Watford Youth Academy to be here and assess some of the players and give his feedback and also interest, and also create some pathways. So as you know, I'm the vice president of Social Club, and that's where we first decided that we wanted to create some more avenues, and now also being at the BFA, which helps to bring some of these things to fruition. So in partnership with the BFA and Sanction, allowed us to be able to reach out and cast those nets wider for the wider Bermuda.
Richard, this has been your third time. Sorry, which one, Richard?
No,
Laurie, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Laurie, this being your third time on the island, it must be a success for you to come back for the third time. There's obviously a crop of players that you're looking at each time around.
Yeah, we tried to change it up each time. So we came out the first year to have a general look. We, as you say, we worked with Troy, really looking to meet good people who were passionate about what they do and wanted to create these pathways. So we came back last time in the summer. We worked specifically with the older group of guys about opportunity with Salford City, and then we've looked this time to work with the younger kids to get the Watford link going as well. So there's a pathway. So we, as Richie will allude to in a minute, they've got a Bermuda lad obviously in doing very, very well in at Watford in the setup. We've seen for a number of times now that there's some talented boys and girls obviously on the island, and we're just trying to help and really create those pathways.
Has it been a success? Obviously, during your time, the first 2 years, this being your third time.
Yeah, we've had some good outcomes. First year we had a lad, Jabay Laws, who was in England anyway, but he went in at Brighton. He had a 2-week trial, did fantastically well, and they actually said to us if he had been in the system for 2 or 3 years, he was there or thereabouts. They didn't offer him something. It was because they weren't prepared to maybe move somebody who'd been there for 5 or 6 years, which is understandable. But it told us everything we need to know and everything that we kind of already thought about the standard on the island. So it was a fantastic we can think it, we can see it, but until we do that and tangibly put somebody into the system in the UK to see where they stand, then that's the proof's in the pudding.
Right. Richard, what sort of athlete or player you're looking for, male or female, for your camp?
Well, the experience here is just for me, first time out, to get a gauge of exactly where the standard lies and how far wide that spreads. And we've seen an example of that this morning on just a rec camp. We've got some little lads. It's only boys this morning. We've got some little lads that were struggling away, and some real outliers at the top end who you can see have clearly got some ability. So it doesn't change across the sport. No matter where you are, you're going to need some hard work. You need to be sort of mentally and physically robust. Same with most sports at elite level. So you're looking for those traits first and foremost, because the ability will be the ability that will get them to a certain level, and then there's certain things that separate them. But it's been a great first morning. Looking forward to the rest of the week.
What were some of the topics the parents brought up to you guys last night about what to expect or what to look forward to for their youngster that could possibly get into or take the next step off island?
Some of the big questions are around pathways and how they might transition across the water to wherever they plan to go next and to play in a dominant world league. And so certainly to Europe, obviously FIFA govern those things, and it's primarily about people moving for work and for schooling before anything else. If we can then pick up players that have made that move as a byproduct of football, that's great. As we've done with Kane Critchlow, who's been a real good success for us straight out of the gate, albeit he's now injured. But he had a great start, spent some time with the first team on a tour with the first team to Austria. And they're big steps for us as an academy. We're trying to change the culture and the environment of the club. So we're going to try and tie the two together very closely, and he was one of the first that's allowed me to do that from only being in the club sort of 7 or 8 months myself. He's sort of really helped us knock a pathway to the first team. It's disappointing he's currently injured, but it sort of shows that transition can happen. He came over a couple of years ago, moved to a school at 15, I believe, then moved into AFC Wimbledon, didn't get a contract at Wimbledon, and that's just the way it goes, and someone else takes you for whatever reasons. They might have too many players, or players of the same type they feel. So it's not just because people don't see the value or see that there's a good player there. So we just got fortunate, really. That I have to bump into him through an agent that I know, and the rest, as they say. So we'll see how he progresses.
Yeah, there's always the challenge of people wanting their youngster to go to a named club because of, I guess, prestige, or my child's playing for Manchester City, Manchester United, Liverpool, and so forth. But the value of what Watford bring to the table is what? That now there's an opportunity for someone who's sitting on the fence that could possibly, come running through the door.
We had the same recruitment issue back in the UK. So everybody wants to get to the top 6 or 7 clubs in the country, right, before they come to us. So we know our place in the pecking order. But I think the value we bring is that we're a smaller, well-run club, got very much a family vibe to it, a community feel to it. And the club sort of thrive on that, and that's part of our model, and that's part of our reputation. And it's then about tying that to making sure we've got genuine pathways so people can see success. And then your recruitment takes care of itself below that. But I think it's that care and attention at a slightly smaller club where that becomes a lot more hands-on. It's more one-to-one than it might be at the bigger clubs full of bigger numbers.
And just adding to that, I think that's the important part here. We talk about education, but it's also about educating families. And our experience as ex-footballers. If you're asking me, would I want to go into Man City? Honestly, today's game, no, I wouldn't. You get eaten up alive by the system. You get swallowed up. And would I, if I had my time again, would I go in at a smaller club? My pet hate of it is at 17 now, I don't want to be playing youth team football. 17, I want to play men's football. I want to get as many games as possible. So I would highly recommend, and we said this in the meeting last night, highly recommend your Mansfields, your Port Vales, your League One team, Wimbledon, all these teams and Watford to a lesser extent. Obviously they're a Premier League club, but as Richie said, they are fighting with the Man Cities and that. But their objective now is to start getting people back through the system. Right. So I think it's really that we're in a culture now where we almost feel that Watford or Nottingham Forest is failure. That's the reality is that's still one in a million stuff.
Right.
Whereas Man City is unfortunately now one in a billion stuff.
Right. Yeah. For you guys at the academy level, your task is that much harder because you're looking for a well-rounded player that can, I guess, wear your crest, with respect and pride and so forth. But you're also looking for a good player as well. How do you guys balance that?
I think that's relatively straightforward, if I'm honest. Like I said, alluded to earlier, players are going to find their levels. So if you're talking about the top 3, I used this example last night, if you're talking about the top 3 clubs in the Premier League, the players are all about that top 3 level. So what is it that separates them from the teams that are in the next block of 5 to 8 and 10 to 12, And it becomes down to sort of mental robustness and physical robustness. You're available all the time, you can cope with the demands of the game mentally, and you're a good character. So it's actually 3 almost non-footballing things. I think we find that in a lot of elite team sport. You've got to have the ability, but the ability takes you to a certain level. It's then about your character and your discipline and all the other bits that go to it. So that's what we're looking for, the lads that have got the discipline, the hunger, that are good learners, because we're taking lads from 9 years old. Our ladies section doesn't go down that young, but it's no different with the ladies section. We're looking for good learners, people are going to, like you say, respect and represent us really well. Because long term they are more likely. They're not only the ones going to have success. You're going to get the outlier that's a bit of a toe rag that's going to be able to go and have success because they can rely on that ability. But in terms of percentages, they're not coming through as often as the hard-working, diligent, well-grounded character.
Yeah, I asked that because we see more and more youngsters that react to a lot of things, and their talent is what got them to that point, but they have a tendency to go off the deep end at times. But like you said, some make it and others kind of push to the side. So that's why I asked that question, because we have those type of people in Bermuda that are very temperament, but are very good. How do you adjust that or fine tune that?
I think that comes down to education, really. Even using Kane again as an example, he's the only Bermudian that I've worked with, so he's the one example I'll go to. But he comes in, and in the first few days, it's like this bright, bubbly, lovely kid, and then very quickly goes into this sort of, I'm here now, I can relax, and I'm done. And it's like, no, this is just the start point. This is the beginning. Now you've got to intensify all of that stuff. He sort of reverted, I guess, to type, the island culture and very relaxed and a lovely way. Is that what's required for elite sport in such a, physically demanding, a testing environment? It's debatable. And so in his injuries, he's now having to go through rehab, and he's struggled slightly with the change to, he's got to take himself to do some rehab for his own, development, for the fastest resolution to his situation. And he's struggled with that once or twice already. So that just comes down again to education and constant support, more importantly than anything else. And I've explained to you, you can have 1 or 2 dark days there where you're thinking you're the only one who's in this situation. It's a lonely place. We're in the gym, no one else around. All the boys are out at training, and to cope with that mental demand is tough. So I've just reiterated to him, you must speak up when you're struggling. It's not a problem. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed by that. We have to get around and support them times, really, because that's where people do borderline go down different paths to depression, anxiety, all those other issues that have become so prevalent now in modern society that we're happy to talk about, which we once weren't. I think it's really powerful. So, and it's about warning young players that they might end up looking over the crevice of those places. And it's not a problem. It's not, it's nothing to be afraid or ashamed of. We just need to have open dialogue to make sure that we can help you and keep you on the right path. Really.
My last question on that one.
And just on the other side of it, those players that we're talking about, sometimes those mishaps are because they don't know how to control their anxiety or the willing to win. And we have to teach them that at younger ages, because sometimes that little attitude is what takes you, that helps you in a game.
Right, but that's what I was going to ask.
How to have them lean
At
over
what age
and not
do you
fall.
start that conversation or addressing that situation?
I think that's like any other aspect of the game, personally. The mental side and understanding that. I think that's the skill of the coach, to recognise one person is ready to cope with that now at this age. This guy or female is not quite ready for that information. We need to wait. And I'm alluding to what Troy has said there. We absolutely don't want to coach out of them that that bit of bite they might have, or that feistiness. That's an absolute necessity. It's going to take them. That selfishness. To be elite performers in top end sport, you've got to be somewhat selfish, and you've got to have sort of selective amnesia. It wasn't my fault; it was someone else's fault. Very quickly, in order to get over one mistake, to move on to the next situation. So they are critical parts that we don't want to coach out of them.
Right.
We just need to teach them how to control them and how to best manage them and recognise them when they're sort of rearing their head in the wrong way, and utilise them for the best.
Cool.
Troy, that's no secret. Bermuda has talent, right? But it's the mental aspect. Can we take that to that level? And this is, of course, in all our sports, track and field, cricket, various other sports. When we want to make it to that level, mental aspect is not as strong. And what Richard is saying is we need to be at that point.
Well, I think for Bermudians, the more and more we get them to get international exposure at earlier ages, and the more exposure that they get around players that are as good as them or better, the quicker they will learn the mental aspect. What's happened is, most of the times, they base their performances off their local counterparts. And if you brought up track and field, but if I'm already faster than somebody at track and field, and I know I'm faster than them, I ain't got to train any harder to be faster than them. But then it compares to the rest of the world, I may not even qualify.
Exactly.
And that's the same thing for football. Okay, at some point you already know you're going to be better than somebody. You know the other players that you played with them for many years, and so you don't have to work as hard, or you don't have to play as good to still beat them. And when we go over to international waters and try to have that same mentality, you can't switch it, because that's a learned behavior.
Exactly.
So until we keep them in the situation, so getting them involved in the national academy going overseas and playing much more, so players can start realizing, hey, it's thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that are just as good as me at my age or even better. So you know what, if I want to make it, I'm going to work that much harder as well. And I think those are the things that I think all sports are starting to see. More international exposure helps our athletes.
Before we go on, we're going to take another commercial break. And when we come back, we'll discuss more. It's a good topic. We'll be back after this.
Sports Talk Radio. Inside Sports Talk Radio.
You're brighter than you look.
FM with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Baston.
Thank you. Welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. This camp that you're going to have on for this entire week, what other aspects are you looking at regarding the camp? We just talked about a lot of mental aspects because, as we mentioned before, Bermuda needs that. But what else are you looking at the camp? Either one of you can answer that
Well, everything that we do, every camp that we've done, and everyone we've had on it, the expectations from our side is that, hard work is a must. And whilst we think that to us, in your everyday life is a given, unfortunately, on the pitch, there seems to be, and it's not, I live in America, with the same problem in America. People think that just being good enough, being a good soccer player, a good footballer is going to make them make it. And I have to get in front of them and say to them every single time, I wasn't the best player in my 14-year-old team. I wasn't the best player. He wasn't the best player in his team. Alan Smith, who we had 2 years ago in the studio, wasn't, played in the Champions League semi-final, wasn't the best player in his younger team. So if we weren't the best players, what were we? We were the hardest workers. It's the intensity, working at that. You go into the academy, you go into Watford, and the first thing you're going to see is the intensity is completely different. And you've got to, train your body mentally and physically to be able to deal with those conditions, because that is a huge part of the professional game.
Wow.
When we start talking about and Troy has probably already told you guys, the laid backness of Bermuda allows our youngsters to feel as if they have arrived even before they get started. If you could recommend something to our coaches, not just at the national level, but at the club level as well, how do we change that mindset? And when do we start to look to change that mindset? Because the talented players, as we talked off here, just walk around because they know at any time they can turn it on, turn it off. But when they meet this new crop of the unknown, it's very difficult to turn it back on because they're not used to it.
Well, for me, it's just starting now because we've watched the national team. It's riding the crest of the wave at the minute. Under Carl, they're doing fantastically well. Conducted themselves extremely well in the Gold Cup in the summer, and almost arrived on the scene. Didn't look out of place. So that's fantastic. But for me, I'm looking at the younger, the under 18s. If I'm an under 20s player in Bermuda, I'm thinking that's where I've got to be. I'll do whatever it takes to get there. So that we can give them the best coaches on the island. We can do the best camps on the island. But ultimately, it comes down to the individuals. Do I want to be there? Is this what I want to do for a career? And you can't make anybody do that. You know what I mean? It's got to come from within.
I think you need to recognise as well that part of your culture is really, really beneficial. So we deem the 9s to 11s to be the foundation phase. We call the 12s to 16s the youth development phase over in England. And in the foundation phase, we need to create more of this culture right here. It's too serious too soon, actually. But because our kids walk in with a level of intensity that we can't control, it is ridiculous. Just the hammer of tongue was at it permanently, and that's where we need to sort of slow them down and go, listen, just have fun, just enjoy it, which is so evident here this morning after the very first session, that they're just nice, relaxed, enjoying themselves. That's a real key fundamental at a certain development period. They can take on loads of information, as long as the staff are putting in place the right things. Looking at touch and technique, as much as we've spoken about psychology so far today, touch and technique is absolutely imperative, and their tactical awareness, their understanding of who shows how much knowledge they've got, even at 7, 8, 9. Some will show more than others, obviously, like any other field. It's about recognising that and harnessing it and understanding what is their so-called super strength. And okay, this one's a real good reader of the game. He understands the tactical nuances. This one's a real tactical, expert. He can beat everybody on the pitch. And it's about making sure we recognise what their strengths are, not necessarily, damaging or changing the culture here too early, because it's a really good platform for them. And if I could take some of this and bottle it for next week when I get back to England, it would be perfect for our 9s, 10s, 11s to just have that, and the families as well, to just take that intensity out of it, because the kids know it's quite an intensive run. They know the pitfalls, or that the end goal is either make it, very few do, or leave the club. But most of them work in this sort of state of fear permanently. We're going to leave, and that's not right. We want them in that relaxed state that I've found here. That is, just calm down, enjoy yourself. That will get the best out of you up to a certain point. Then we need to change and sort of turn the dial and get that intensity turned up as we go through sort of 12, 13, 14. So that by 15, 16, they're at it now I get what Troy's saying. If you get over there too late and don't experience some of that, you might be behind the curve. So they do, you know, if the kids could get some experience and some exposure to European teams or to US teams on the island, or by going and travelling somewhere, they would just get a real glimpse into, all right, so recognising that here, if I'm the best, that's not enough. It's, you know, we can get down to 100-metre record and go, anyone on the island can know I'm not beating that. I might beat everyone on the island, but I'm not beating that. So they've got something to aim at. It's not quite straightforward in team sports, is it? There's not that number that you can aim for. So it's, and you know, that managing difference. Even today, we've had some little dots and some slightly older ones, and we've got a staff. It's the skill of the coaches, as I'm sure you're aware, to manage difference, and we've got to be able to blend a session that suits and supports this so-called weakest player at the time, as well as challenging the strongest player at the time, and have them working in the same practice. And that's really where the skill of coaching comes in. I think that you can draw the best out of both.
How much of a club plan is it through the academy to the seniors? When I ask that, I'm saying how much style, because clubs want to play a particular style of football, and you want to start it as young as possible to make sure that if this person filters through the academy, it's not a big surprise and we're changing all these formats, we're doing this differently, we're doing that different. So how much through the club is the communication amongst staff to ensure that what we're doing at 15, you know, they can at maybe 16 a player could possibly break into that first team?
Yeah, it's vital that the whole club is joined up, and you know, you've got to have that synergy from top to bottom. So at Watford specifically, we have a syllabus that is identical from 9s to 23s. We just have to tailor it to suit the age that we're working on. So the topic titles are very similar, and it's just about scaffolding on top of those early foundations for the babies up to you know, nigh on to being in the men's team. You get different clubs with different philosophies, I'll be honest. So some clubs say we're going to copy what the first team do. Now that requires a really strong board that are going to maintain what the first team do and not panic if it goes wrong for a few weeks or a few months and their position in the league is looking precarious. They suddenly go, oh, you know what, we'll forget that philosophy, we'll change and do something that's going to keep us safe now. That if they are that strong, that allows you to employ coach after coach who's going to maintain that. That would allow you to have that synergy right the way through. We're going to try and play a type of system. We're going to play in an aggressive manner or a passive, whatever it is. Personally, I think we've got more of a duty of care to the players to teach them the whole game. We might have a first team manager who's brilliant and as the first team running really well, but if that manager changes or if that player leaves the club and plays somewhere else, it might be going into a different type of system, a different type of format. In that case, I think we have got a duty of care to all of our young players to teach them the whole game and as much of it as they can cope with, not just follow what our current first team are doing, which you know probably bucks the trend slightly in the UK, but I think we've got more responsibility than to just go, if you can learn this one way, you might be able to play for Watford. Or you can have a good career at the Championship, a League 1 or a League 2 club, just as Laurie's alluded to. And so, you know, we've got that duty of care to teach in the whole game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Very unique that the fact that you guys are working with youngsters, because not everybody has that patience, tolerance, and that eye.
Well, Richard didn't this morning. If you see him
Threw you in at the deep end. But what does it take to be with a group of youngsters to try and develop them and hone them in to become the best footballer that they can possibly be? Not saying everyone makes it, but the best footballer they can be, because it takes it's very unique.
I think we've all demonstrated the same character traits. I've known Troy 5 minutes, but I know he's going to be caring, you know, and want the best for the kids. That's
okay. We'll talk to you outside. We'll talk to you.
But you don't do this job unless you feel that way,
right?
And then I think it's just being genuine in your love for them, genuine in support for them whenever they need it, genuine in your assessment of them, which is being honest and sounds somewhat brutal at times, but they need that as much as anything else. It's like any other field. It's like anybody developing and growing up and going through the ages, you know. We all need someone to go, hey, that's not right, you don't do things that way, or that's really good, keep doing more of that, and that positive reinforcement is vital. And I think it's just about being genuine in all of those different aspects and, you know, supporting them as best we can.
Yeah, I think just to add that as well, we one of the key things yesterday was one from the meeting, parents saying, you know, without being too ruthless, parents saying, we need to know, we're fed up with, you know, clubs coming over, West Ham, etc. You know, many clubs coming over and saying, yeah, they're really good. If they're not good, tell us. If they're good at this, tell us. If they need to be better at this, tell us what we need to do. Do you know what I mean? we're at the risk now. It's so commercialised
Mhm.
that and I know it's ironic because we bought Watford, but the reason we bought Watford is because they're authentic. There's tangible outcomes at the end of it. So for us, that's what it's about. Whereas people are saying on the island, everyone's come in very Americanized, with the brand affiliating to a club, and there's no outcomes, there's no real feedback, there's no real progression, there's no honesty in many respects.
Right.
It's just a numbers game.
Right.
This is not a numbers game for us. If you've done that this morning, there's 20 people.
Jeez.
We've got probably 12 on the Watford camp this evening, so it's not a huge thing. But whatever audience we have, we'll work with, and as I said earlier, they'll leave the building hopefully a better football player, and certainly a better educated football player than when they came in.
For sure. We don't have much time left, gentlemen. So, is there any final comments you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, just thank you very much for having us. It's a relationship that we are looking to continue to build, and we keep working with other partners, including Brookhouse College, a private school in England, which is another progression. We're just trying to bring enough partners to the table to really get some good, tangible outcomes.
Thank you very much for coming on board again.
Thanks a lot.
Enjoy your
All right.
this week.
Okay.
There's a lot of opportunities here, Troy. When you were a young man growing up, it wasn't like that. I think it was more so go to university, be able to see what happens there. You're starting at a young age, 9 to 11, as they mentioned earlier. So you guys are opening up doors for our young people. Hopefully something can happen from there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole idea is for us to get them exposed, get our parents educated, and let them know that they have a pathway, and maybe it's football, but without education, then there may not be any football either.
That's true. Yeah.
We got to put them all together
All right.
and make these complete players.
Cool. Thank you very much. We're going to go to news at 1 o'clock, and when we come back, we have guests join us in the studio in both boxes. We'll be back after the newscasts.
Sports Talk Radio. Inside Sports Talk Radio on Power 95 FM with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Beeston.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. It's now 10 minutes after 1. Joining us in the studios, the Bermuda Boxing Federation President, Mr. Nathan Dale, correct?
Yes,
I got
sir.
it right, 'cause I had Nathan Dale in my phone, and please accept my apologies.
It is deal. It's not deal. It's deal.
Deal.
Dale. Oh, I was right.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I said Dale, and he said yes.
Listen,
Because it sounded like you said.
Yeah.
To me, it sounded like you said deal, and then he said yes, and then I said, hold on, it's deal.
Forgive me again.
No,
Dale, I was right.
You was right.
I was right. Nathan Dale.
Yeah.
You got a special guest. I want you to introduce that special guest to your left.
I
I've seen him, but I can't remember his name.
This
You know what I'm
man.
saying?
I cannot introduce this man. He can only introduce himself.
And that gentleman is that guy Mr. Souza, the sportsman? I know his father
That'll be
was
him.
into sports. His father was into sports.
That'll be him.
His father was a big sportsman. So this is his son.
Yeah, like father, like son.
That's right. I'll tell you what. I got to interject here. Good afternoon, Bermuda, and good afternoon, everybody here.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
I am an avid sports fan, and of course, I am sitting here with the president of the Bermuda Boxing Federation because I'm a huge boxing supporter and have been for a long time. Anyhow, since I haven't been introduced yet, everyone. It's Jeff Souza here. It's Jeff Souza here in the room, and I'm very pleased and pleasure to be here along with Nathan to talk about this big boxing night on November 23rd.
You did it yourself, see? You beat it. Good afternoon to you, sir. Welcome aboard. Nathan, to start with you first. Boxing is obviously making a big turn for Bermuda, but this time, November 23rd is the time that everyone comes out and supports boxing on this special night. What's going to be on the card for that night on November 23rd?
So the general theme of the night is Bermuda meets or versus, however you want to put it. Bermuda meets Portugal. We have been asked for the last 2 years since the Portuguese team first came to Bermuda. Every fight that we've had since then, and we've had quite a number of fights since then. Every single fight we got reached out to by the Portuguese community who say, when are you going to bring back our boys? And we had planned to for this November anyway, but just so that it coincided with the 170th anniversary of the arrival of the Portuguese to Bermuda, it was a perfect fit. And you would think that we planned that, but we did not plan that. But it's definitely a perfect fit. So we have on the undercard, we have 4 top Bermuda boxers: Andre Lamb, Jalen Roberts, LeVince Tota, and the young Adrian Roach. And they're each going to be facing a Portuguese opponent. So that's your Bermuda versus Portugal element. And in the main event, we have the return of Fabio Costa, who Bermuda remembers from 2 years ago. And again, the Portuguese community is very excited. Thus, this is not why we have Jeff here, but we have Jeff here just because he's been a fantastic supporter of us for a number of years. And when we knew we were going to have this event, we reached out for support, and he joined our committee and has been, on the ground running since then.
Wow. Jeff, what does this mean to you, this big event, Portuguese versus Bermuda? But, in good fun.
Yeah, I have to be open and honest here. When we had the last fight, when Fabio, hands of stone, fought Nicky, everybody was thinking, because my last name was Souza, that I was supporting the Portuguese boxer. Right? Of course, I was ringside like I was as I am at all fights.
Correct.
And I had to clarify that to say that I am very proud of my Portuguese ancestry, just like you guys should be of your West Indian or African.
Right.
But my family's been in Bermuda 150 years. Not quite 170, but 150 years. Right? And as many of you in here know, my father is the first defender to go in the Bermuda Sports Hall of Fame for football.
Right.
And I'm very proud of that. But obviously, I did have a funny feel because this was a Portuguese boxer, so you naturally would, right? But it wasn't pleasant to watch Fabio knock out my boy Nicky, who I've supported, at fights financially and, giving him support on Facebook and so on since day one. it was not pretty. Obviously, the Portuguese crowd went full foolish, not foolish, but full foolish. It was a big knockout. But this, as Nathan already alluded to, this really ties in really well with the fact that this is the 170th anniversary of Portuguese first coming here from Madrid, where another very famous sportsman is from. Gotta kick in that Ronaldo, right? But so this is going to be big. This is going to really be big, and it's in the month of November, and of course the holidays on November 4th and everything. And I've really enjoyed seeing boxing be where it is today, because I'm going to show my age here a little bit. I remember watching Clarence Hill fight at BAA, right? And as we know, and you know, we have to take our hat off when it's due. You know, Clarence Hill won a bronze medal in the 1976 Olympics, and to date, he's the only Bermudian to ever win a medal for our country in the Olympics. Even though many have come close, I think Peter Bromley got a 4th or 5th. You know, and others have done very well. And of course, right now we're sitting. I heard you earlier, Earl, talk about, you know, our golden girl, you know, Flora Duffy. You know, we stand a very good chance, if she is fit, to win a medal at the next Olympics. And I'm sure all of us hope that she does. But, you know, over the years, we've had so many top boxers. I mean, I recall, you know, Clarence obviously was a top boxer, but Troy Darrell is a name that we often forget as a Bermudian. You know, Troy Darrell, you know, was one of the top contenders in the world in his weight class. And I remember watching on TV when this young Bermudian was fighting, was it Michael Olajide? And he and the great Angelo Dundee in his ring, right? Who obviously we know worked with Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time. And, you know, and then, you know, today, because we're talking about the return fight, and of course the feature fight is the Mexican fighting the Portuguese, and both of them have fought our own Bermuda champion, Nicky Bascom. But we're going to watch, you know, Andre Showtime Lamb in the ring. Last time as an amateur fighter, and then he's going to turn pro. You know, and he's following on with all these greats that were before him. And we need to really get behind him. And I do know that Bermudians love boxing. Obviously, they're always last minute, and I had a little commercial here, right? You know, that you want to get in there now and buy your tickets, because when the fight happens at Fairmont, Southampton, everybody's going to be looking for a ticket. So you want to go on www.bermudatix.bm now and order your tickets, or you can stop by Sousa Gardens, that lovely garden center, of course, from Heron Bay Marketplace, and you can pick up your tickets there as well. But and we know, we as Bermudians, it's not just the boxing match, which is huge, but that's going to be the place to be seen.
It's the social event.
I mean, you know, anyway, all you have to do is ask one of the #1 fans out there, Beverly Lattimore. You know, she'll be front center. She's already got her outfit picked out there out the bed, right? But no, it's you know, there's a lot going on in Bermuda, but we do love boxing, and this is going to be an awesome night. And I really take my hats off to, you know, Nathan, the president, and everybody else who is on the committee for the work that's been going on behind the scenes. And we know that this is going to be a very successful night. We're looking forward to it.
Getting someone like David back, when he came to fight Nicky the last time, how much talks have you guys had with him to see what he's been doing? We obviously we know what Fabio is going to come in and look and feel like. It's just the for those people unnerved.
So you're getting into what's that fight gonna look like, and we know that that's gonna be on your edge of your seat, back and forth. That's gonna be a brawl. That's gonna be a very it's not going to be a technical match. It's not. Right? It's not. It's going to hands of stone. You know, we're really expecting that to be an exciting fight. It's a 10-round fight. Since David left here, he loved Bermuda. He enjoyed the hospitality. He feels like he is at home in Bermuda. He said from the day one that he left, he said, I want to come back. Please have me back. And he's been in contact with us ever since. So when Nicky vacated his belt, you know, it was apparent that, you know, this was going to happen.
Right.
So we reached out to David and we said, hey, the belt is now vacant. The RDA, it will be very easy to propose, you know, this fight. And so that's what we done. We went to the RDA and we said, listen, Nick's vacated the belt. He had until May to fight to retain the IBA title. And since he dropped weight categories, they were not willing to extend it
past that.
That. So, it just fell into place. It just made sense for us to have the Mexican who fought Nicky for the IBA title versus Costa, who by all rights should have been that mandatory challenger.
Right.
So in the view of the IBA, that was the mandatory challenger. So the one of the problems with having a belt like that is that the sanctioning body, the IBA, dictates who you are going to fight next.
Okay.
So it was a toss-up between, if Nicky retained the belt, it was going to be a toss-up. But we had a mandatory rematch clause with the Mexican because the scorecard was so close, and there was some discrepancy. If you remember, after last November, there was some discrepancy with one of the judges. So the IBA said that David would be the mandatory challenger until Nicky vacated. So it was a very interesting, the politics and the drama behind the fight card. It's a very interesting.
But you know what's funny about it? It's not just Bermuda, because you see the politics play in many other boxing events that go on around the world. But people still love to come and watch because it's that unknown. It's someone who comes in as a slugger could turn around and be a technical fighter on the night and just build up points. Some people might not like it, but sometimes that's how you have to fight.
But in speaking of the tactical fight, I want Bermuda to now focus on Andre Showtime Lamb, because we know that Bermudians, we know that we're going to support him when he starts going in that direction. But Andre he is the one to watch right now. He is hands down the one to watch. He's young, 22, 24, and he's going pro at the right time. He took the amateur career as far as he could take it. Would I want him to remain a part of the national team and, do the Olympic trials again? Yeah, I would want that. But, why forego the transition to your career to go through that circuit again? He has demonstrated to us and to Bermuda that he can stand with the best of the world, even though he had lost on points in Nicaragua and Colombia. He had impressive showing, and if you saw the footage of him sparring with the same opponents afterwards, you would just say,
I have to say, because I was in Colombia, and I mean, he went in well prepared. It didn't work out for him, but he then turned around and was in the ring the next day sparring with the same guys, or the guys that had been knocked out. So he was continuing to put in the effort, and I could see from firsthand that he loved what he was doing, he wants to do it more.
Absolutely, and from the sparring footage, when the pressure was off, to me he outclassed those guys that he was sparring with. When the pressure was off and it didn't mean anything, and he just relaxed and playing around.
I think that comes with more activity,
more fight experience. Absolutely, and that's what we know for our national program. That's the one thing that we're lacking. So. Also in that same realm, hats off to Coach Leo Richardson, because right now he is pushing his GM overseas. Adrian Roach, the 17-year-old, he is the first Bermuda, and I've been president for 5 years, but he's the first youth, 17 years old, to basically get an overseas matchup, because there's nobody here playing him. He's had 4 matches in 1 year, which we only have about 3 or 4 locally. So he went overseas to get 4 matches in addition to the one here in Bermuda. So again, if young Adrian Roach continues on this trajectory, that's a name that you're going to watch out for as well. So it's a whole movement right now. It's a whole renaissance of the boxing in Bermuda. You have a lot of guys now, a lot of boxers wanting to go pro. They're seeing that vision. Hats off to Nicky for kind of forging and continuing that path where Teresa left off and Troy left off and he took the rounds. But I'm dreaming of the days that we don't have one pro. That's what I'm dreaming of. And that's not the push, but that's a byproduct of what we're doing. So it's going to be an exciting night for me. You want to come out and support our athletes.
I find this very interesting because people wouldn't have seen the amount of Mexican support when Bermuda played Mexico. They wouldn't have thought we had that many Mexican people in and around this island. So it'd be very interesting that particular night, because I know the Mexicans are going to get their tickets, and I know the Portuguese community is going to get their tickets. So I would have to go with you, Mr. Souza, and say, if you want a ticket, anybody out there, you better get it now.
No, and on that note, Earl, we saw when you had the last boxing match up at Dockyard, and you had the Bermudian art champion, Nikki Bascom, up against the Philippine contender, and the Philippine community came out in force, and it was a very nice evening. And when you talk about nations like Mexico, Philippines, you're talking about huge boxing nations. In the lighter weights, they dominate. Portugal, we didn't know a lot about that, but evidently, this young man Fabio is one of the best in his class in Portugal. And we have to be realistic when it comes to population. Portugal has 10 million plus people. Mexico was probably 150 million plus. These are large countries, and of course we're 65,000 people. That's why when we do so fantastic on the world stage in Philadelphia, it is so huge. But it's going to be a spectacular night. It always is, and we've really been planning on the outside to make sure it is. And Nathan's put together an awesome team working together behind the scenes.
How many last round, I'm sorry. How many seats you guys are looking to have?
So we have 1,400 seats. The official number is 1,200. So we have 1,200 seats. Thank you very much, Southampton. They'll be very supportive of us. So we have 1,200 seats. It is assigned seating. So get your seats now when you can pick the seat closer to the action. It's not sides per se, but we did indicate where the Portuguese team will be entering the ring to, and where the Bermudian team. So you can kind of pick your seat according to where you most feel comfortable. So we're encouraging people to get their groups together. Big shout out to Nelson Almeida. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but he's one of the Triangle Boys, the Portugal super fans, and I spoke to him yesterday. I said, hey, are you guys bringing the drum out? He said, I don't really know if I'm going to bring the drum because, people didn't really like it. I said, listen, bring the drum out. Bring it out. Because I said, because you had the drum out last time, I've already arranged to have the Gombe drums this time. So go ahead.
That's the Bermuda Ultras. That's the Bermuda Ultras. Those guys are something else. And they have actually the smaller guy that plays the drums works for me. And they're awesome. If anybody's ever seen them at any of the World Cup or European Cup games when Portugal's playing, guys are off the chain. And they have the little gumbe beat. So it's really sharp. And it does add a little. It really does add. And of course, we see that at different international events around the world. I mean, it's huge, right? And it was nice to see some of that color at the last game up at the national stadium.
We have to get ready to take a commercial break. Yeah, you ready? Okay, we'll take a commercial break and come back to discuss more. We'll be back after this.
host, Ian Rollins, and co-host, Earl Beeston.
And welcome back. Before we wrap up, just give us a rundown on the event itself on that day, November 23rd. Doors open up at 7. What's on tap from there on?
Sorry, doors open up at 6. The first fight is going to be at 7 o'clock. But the VIP ticket holders will be treated to a whole weekend of events. We have a pre-party on Friday night. We have the weigh-in also happening on Friday night, so that's when your opportunity for the ringside and VIP holders to get a little bit meet and greet and intimate with the boxers. And then on the Saturday afternoon, during the day, from 1 to 3, we have the kids event. So it's 2 separate events that you're going to get. And there's a couple of youth and junior fighters that are also climbing up the ranks and exciting matches to see. We have Almico versus Otero. And we also have Zane versus, Zane versus Khalil. So the main event card, again, it starts at 7 o'clock and finishes with the IBA title match, Portugal versus Mexico. There's all Bermudians on the undercard, and there is an after party after the event. Details of that will be released soon, but that is confirmed. So you're not just supporting our boxers, you're not just supporting our program, but we're trying to give a lot of value for money for your VIP and your ringside. The general tickets are $85 and are available at Sports R Us, Kid and Caboodle. We just added, please, Jeff, help me with the pronunciation, Cafe Azor.
Zoriana? I don't know. Cafe Azores.
We just
Azorian,
added
right?
Cafe Azoriano as a ticket location, and of course Susan's at Heron Bay, Southampton. Also online at bermudatix.bm. So the availability of tickets is out there. Again, I put on the radio every time. Nobody heeds my warning. Please, my phone will be off in the 3 days leading up to the event. For you dozen or so people that will track down me, my girl mom, my baby mom, and my daughter to get tickets from me. I'm sorry, my wife. but yeah, we're urging people to move early. Get your tickets now. This event sells out every single year, and with the Portuguese component to it, we know that the Portuguese community will be coming out in full force and getting their tickets early. So we're urging everybody else who is thinking about attending, please get your tickets now.
Right. As Jeff and both of you said earlier, get your tickets. It's going to be sold out. So the replies can be like, oh, it was 90% Portuguese. Bermudians right there. Well, y'all can get your ticket now.
No, well, Bermudians do come out to this event. So I understand. But and of course, I want to add one thing, because it is at Fairmont Southampton. We can really look at making a nice weekend of it, because they will have a special rate there for that. So and again, people do. It's a place to be seen. We know people like to get dressed up for an event like that, and it's always it will be the place to be on November 23rd. There's no doubt about that at all.
Any final comments, gents, before we wrap up?
I just again urge people, please come out and support our athletes. And thank you for your support, Bermuda, throughout the year. We're looking at a good transition for Andre Showtime Lamb. So I'm excited for that, having guarded the boxing program throughout his career and given opportunities to our young boxers. So these events are the things that make this happen. So this is not just a boxing event. This is our #1 fundraiser for the year. So we're asking the public support in deciding to come to the event, that it is going 100% into our programs and our national team.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we have you on just before the event itself.
And thank you.
Not a problem, Souza. It's always a pleasure having you on board, sir.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll take a commercial break, and we come back and we speak to Mr. Jacon Edness.
Earl Beeston.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Now joining us in studio, we have the Director of Youth and Sport, Mr. Norbert Simons, and Con Edness, who is the
Senior
Sport Development Officer. Yes. And obviously right now we're talking about the annual sports awards. Nomination forms have been out since last Friday, am I correct?
Yes, correct. Forms been out. You can find them on the government portal. That's www.gov.bm. Just search Sports Award nomination forms, or they will be at our head office, located at the Craig Eppin House, or at Pro Shop.
Every year we go through this dance of having people nominated and so forth, and then there's always that talk of, why not this person? This is the opportunity for people to express who they would like to see nominated, and then it's up to the information displayed or handed in to support that person, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. This is obviously, as I said before, is that, as amateur athletes, their currency and pay is recognition.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the time for the general public or NSGBs to submit their information for their chosen athlete, coach, or administrator from the present or the past.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Simons, this has been going on how many years now? We're in the 20-something year? 30-something year?
39 this year.
Okay. 39 years. You've been involved how many times now?
As director since 2006.
Okay. So you've seen many things transform over the years. What new things can you think of to assist the public in getting their forms in? Not just the public, but the NSGBs, because there is a lot of disappointment in the committee when sitting down to deliberate, you don't see certain individuals put forth by at least the National Sport Governing Body.
Well, first of all, good afternoon. What we've done is, if you notice, Jacon has completed an exercise in recertifying our National Sports Governing Bodies. And part of their requirements are that they need to adhere to some of the things that we offer at the department, like, for instance, our sports awards and junior sponsorship award, and our conferences or whatever else the department needs to be put on, so that we can have a better picture of what is going on in the sport, and they would have a better understanding and also be involved in the process. Because technically speaking, when it comes down to nominating people for their achievement in sport, it should really come from the National Sports Governing Body.
They're the ones with all the information.
Yes. I mean, especially not only because of their athlete of the year, but people that have volunteered and sponsored their programs.
Now, during your tenure, you've implemented the National Junior Sponsorship. The Junior Award.
Yes.
That seems to be going rather well. The youngsters getting recognition as well as the seniors.
Yes, I think we felt that it was important. I think that if you notice in sport, we do a lot of emphasis on young athletes, and then those in between ones. That's where we have to start focusing on. Because as you know, we provide funding for elite athletes through the Bermuda Olympic Association. Our goal before I leave the department is to provide funding for those athletes who are inspired to be elite athletes.
Mr. Edness, what is the biggest challenge do you face now in your second year doing this or third year doing this? Fourth year doing it? You been that long now?
Oh, going on 3 years.
Okay,
3 years. But I started, like, my first couple of weeks, I ran into a sports award.
Oh, okay.
That's why
Right. So what are some of the challenges you face administrative wise in this process?
Just constantly, not really a challenge. It's just constantly reaching out to the NSGBs to ensure that they get their athletes in that they deem worthy to be nominated. Also, just making sure all my bases are covered in regards to advertisement. Reaching out to vendors to try to advertise and things like that. It's just about covering all my bases, really. For the most part, the vast majority of NSGBs do submit, so that's good, really. But I'm always looking to go a step further and try to get that 100%.
Right.
More.
Well, we notice one thing and we have to keep saying it. It's not a popularity contest. It's not the person that gets the most votes or the most submissions. It's the person that gets the nod, if anyone understands that, because sometimes you find an entire family, cousins, even the pet dog put down the person's name and sends it for me, and so but thinking that if I get 24 nominations, I'm going to be the winner. It doesn't always go like that. But the sports awards is special for athletes and those people that contribute to sports, because it's a night that when the awards do come around, it's a night of pure recognition, of acknowledgement of what someone has accomplished for that past year. Anything new you want to say possibly will take place at the award ceremony this time around?
Wait and see. And I say wait and see because we're always looking to try and do things better than what was done before. Jacon is right now going through the process of trying to identify who's going to be the main presenters of the award. And as time has come. It's still March. Anything can happen between now and then.
Me personally, Mr. Edmonds, I'd like to see Al Tove be the host for the night.
Who's Al Tove?
I don't know if you want him on the stage.
Can you explain who's Al Tove?
There'll be a lot of people holding a button to turn off his microphone, but that'll be the one and only Aloysius. Engelbert.
That's not a bad option, Mr. Basin. After, like Mr. Simon said, the department's in the process of trying to solidify a producer for the show, and once that is taken care of, we will have to have a conversation to put Mr. Simons
on the spot,
on the stage.
Sure, because he comes out to do that. He comes out to do that. The end. No man. Man with all that knowledge and talent should be out there the whole time.
Point taken.
You trying to put me down as a problem?
Right next to it, at least.
No, I support Earl, but I think that you would appreciate that we've moved away from that. I think that before I became director, it used to be the director and the sports officer would stand up there and read out all the scripts. We thought that it would be best that we engage past athletes, but more importantly, what I like to do is try to engage our junior athletes for more reasons than just having them on the stage. I think they need to be encouraged to be seen publicly, also, but more importantly, being able to speak publicly. I think that's a phase that's missing, and I think that we have a tendency too much in this country to look at our young people and especially our athletes, and anytime they do something wrong, we're quick to
be very judgmental,
and discuss. But we need to also hold them up in esteem. So that part of the program, I would like to see continued even after I'm gone. But to me, that's important.
Off the top of your head, Mr. Edmonds, do you remember the categories?
To answer you, I knew you would ask. Male athlete of the year, male and female athlete of the year, junior male and female athlete of the year, junior achievement, senior achievement, special achievement, sports citation. So the evening promises to be, hopefully we could get a good amount of nominations in, so that the deliberators such as yourself and Mr. Simons could be in there all Saturday. When our Saturday it is deliberations. But what I want to stress as well is that let's not forget about those who have come before us, who put in work within sport for their recognition. Every year, that's probably the favorite part of the night for me, is to see older past generations of sportsmen, women, and administrators getting their just due 30, 40,
And it's funny
sometimes
because
50 years
sometimes
later.
that's the first time I've seen each other in years. So up on the
I
stage
mean-
reminiscing.
I mean, one year there was the Devonshire Diamondettes.
Yes.
I mean, they came about 35 deep.
Yeah.
It was all a Devonshire.
I mean, and it was as a sportsman, it was just good to see. Like, but I know one day, no spurs my life,
Right.
might be me
Right.
going up 30 years down the road, picking up something for the Mulch in St. George's many years.
You know what?
And the mayor's got a blue and blue today.
Exactly.
You didn't get enough for that. You didn't get enough for that.
And it's got big Islandstats on the shirt, right? Like
We're going back to commercial break.
like you represent the Hill Island, right? Just represent the East End, right?
That's how I represent the Hill Island.
But you got a blue and blue.
That's right. The Hill Island's going to be wearing blue and blue.
Every day.
That's right.
But your only chance this year, well, I guess it's over now because I guess your ICG team is supposed to go off for a tournament around the same time as Coventry next year.
No, they're good.
But then there might be a chance of win Coventry. Because half of some of the teams going to be there.
And half of St. George will be there.
But then Christ, game be over by 1 o'clock.
The company play. You'll have to reel him onto the wicket. But yeah, the one thing about the sports awards is it's always a night to reminisce, and like you said, it's always good that those people who have played their part, still involved or not still involved, get recognized for their accomplishments in years gone by. Those are the things that I think Mr. Simons was alluding to, with the youngsters being around to hear those stories and to acknowledge what they can aspire to.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the sports awards is really important for the department and for the country. Because you know we don't do enough to recognize our heroes, whether it be in sports, entertainment, or otherwise. But you know, and to me, and I think that yes, as a night I have to wear a tuxedo, look like a penguin, but it's important. I think it's really important to have a prestigious occasion. I know that we've been criticized and said, why don't we hold it in different locations and not at a hotel? But I think that if you want to give some credence to the event, you have to have it at a premium destination. I know that some people talk about the cost and stuff, but the money we spend on the sports awards in totality is less than the money we spend to incarcerate one person.
Right.
Yeah.
For a year. So we've had some criticisms about not only that, but even about the junior sponsorship award, why we do some of the things we do. But there's no price you can pay for improving someone's self-esteem. We are paying the price for diminishing people's value, but we need to do more to uplift people in this country.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's take a commercial break, and we'll be back with more of this talk on sports awards and the nomination forms and being disseminated at present when we come back after these messages from our sponsors.
And August. on Power 95 FM with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Baston.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio, continuing our conversation on the nomination forms for Sports Awards 2019 are out. Can you just run through the locations again that one can pick up forms and submit them, because it's important to know where they got to hand them back to as well?
Yes. Deadline for nomination forms is Friday, December 20th. So I want to catch people just before Christmas. And you can find forms on the government portal. That's www.gov.bm. Go to the search bar, type in Sports Awards if it isn't already on the homepage. You can collect them at hard copy at Pro Shop, and you can also collect hard copy at our head office in the Craig Appin House on Wesley Street.
And they must be returned by what time? When?
December 20th, 5 p.m. December 20th, 2019 at our head office, or they can be emailed to myself, jaednis@gov.bm.
Now, this is for the calendar year January 1st through to December 20th, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Just so people know it's not. And then, obviously, different categories are for different requirements.
Right. So it's important for someone who might be new to the process to read the information at the top of the nomination form, so that they can decide which category they want to nominate their chosen person.
Right. Because you don't want to be nominating a team from the 80s as athlete of the year. Because that's
Correct.
not the right criteria that the person would be in. So we want to make sure that they have the correct category. All right. Cool. Mr. Simons, over your tender, what has been one of the special nights that you've been involved in across the Sports Awards?
They've all been special. I can say that. For me, when we introduced the junior category, it was really special for me. And then recognizing that we wanted to give the juniors the same level of import as the senior athletes. And then a few years later, then we did, I think it was last year, the year before, we did the Junior Achievement Award as well.
Yeah.
To at least add some more suspense to the whole process. And I think that when you see our young athletes stand up and really feel good about, and you can see it in their face, you can see it in their parents' face. For me, it's a highlight for me. I'm a little stiff. I'm a little softy when it comes to our junior athletes.
Right.
And because our seniors, sometimes it's pretty predictable who's going to be the senior athlete of the year over the last few years. But for the juniors, it's really special to watch them to see to receive the award, the fact that they haven't been acknowledged in the first place.
Right. So, Mr. Ednis, you have your work cut out for you. Obviously, getting this National Sports Governing Body, like you said before, some of them are really, really good. Others are a little more work in progress. But your message, here's your opportunity to say to the general public, to get those forms in, what's your message to them?
My message to the general public, to anyone, is just to, get your chosen athlete or administrator or coach nominated. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. You can't sit there and say this person should have won or this person should have won if you haven't made the first step in actually nominating that said person. So I would encourage everyone to put their nomination forms in, whether it be for past or present, and and let the chips fall where they may. Every athlete or any person who's contributed to sport deserves some level of recognition. So you start with nominating them first and foremost.
Yeah. Just one quick question. Mr. Simon said earlier that some people get upset or have been upset as in the location. I think he answered it well by saying, yes, it's a special night, it's a special presentation for sports. We all in Bermuda thrive on saying we love our sports. And then for an event like this that's been going on for 30 plus years, once a year, I think it's worthwhile having it at the location that you guys always have it. I remember having the Princess, but now it's at Fremont, so what? But the fact is, it's at a great location, and it needs to be recognized.
And if a hotel comes along better than a Second Princess, during my tenure, we'll be there.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
No, but no, seriously,
it's
no,
important.
seriously, yeah, it
You
is.
know, and I think that, like I said, we want to celebrate our athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, because not only our athletes, but the officials, the sponsors, who it's an amateur sport, who sacrifice a lot of time.
Yep.
You know, and I don't think people understand the time that goes into preparing for a sport. In addition to that, some have to go to work.
Yep.
Many have to go to school, and officials have got to hold on a full-time job. Then administer sports on their time, and most times there's a lot of criticism. I mean, everybody's a Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah. I got you. I got you.
And
Right.
you know, because hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
And so, you know, then you can sit up and tell Jacondo, oh, you should have moved around and held that ball in slips. You know, but don't forget, but forget the fact that he held 9 of the catches and then the cops still went back west. But we look at all of the negative things when it comes to
In that case, that's a positive. Coming back to rest.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's my period. I mean, so whenever we make a mistake, we want to highlight it.
3 songs
we don't talk
guys,
about
3 little guys. I don't know what
that's why we never walk alone.
Because you're all afraid of the dark. That's why.
Come down and say, George, put some light on you.
Light. The lights dancing, Jordan. The light being dancing, Jordan.
Yeah, but it's been on for a little while. And you got all the oil factories on St. George's, and you still can't light it up. Something wrong.
We're going to get some Taliban guys coming here. You watch. Chicks you all out of Somerset.
That's all right. Yeah, we'll come down and balance it up.
You can stay right where you are. Any parting words, John? What's been said?
Yeah, I've been saying it already. Please don't forget to get your forms in, and everyone enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for having us again.
What we'll do is we'll bring you back just before deadline day to just reiterate the importance of getting those forms in for the person that one wants to acknowledge in whatever category it could be.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. You want to take commercial? You want to?
No, we'll wrap it up from here. Big Toe, any final comments?
No, I just think that I think all's been said. It is important that if you feel someone should be nominated, and I think you need to get in and stop waiting on someone else to do it. We've had that comment. Well, I thought so-and-so was going to nominate him. Well, you know what thought man and the man do? Okay, and you'll think about it again.
Yes.
Speak to us. I'll leave it like that.
That's what I'm talking about.
There you go.
Let me take that camera off.
That's all time inside Sports Talk Radio. We're signing off right now. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Miss Thang.
Yes, Miss Thang.
You are welcome.
Hey, you like that,